You're sitting around a campfire and hearing the booming voice of a storyteller who is midway through sharing his story. While his woven words are all that you hear, you quickly take notice that everyone is sitting around the campfire differently. Two listeners are enticed by the story. Their backs slouch because their heads seem to be leaning towards the voice of the storyteller. One constantly checks her phone, and another is in the far back, holding a grimacing look and questioning every word the storyteller utters. By the time the campfire has died and everyone is walking back to their tents, they begin to share what they thought of the story. One of the two who was enticed hated it. The one who was checking her phone shrugged and said, "Meh," and the one who was in the far back muttered some dislikes but said it was actually not too bad. Meanwhile, the storyteller is quietly listening from the back. Nobody knows that in his heart, he wrote the best story he could scribe, but he found himself surprised by the feedback. Sure, he dragged some parts a little, but he still hoped everyone enjoyed it, even if he heard the mutters and saw how often one of them checked her phone. You then hear someone from the group say how they can't wait to share their own story someday. The storyteller didn't know whose voice it was, and it was too dark to see. The next day, the storyteller started to write a new tale. It didn't matter who was inspired last night, or that there were some who hated it. Hearing that unknown voice share their newfound discovery for storytelling awoke something in him. He once had that drive to write, and when you're doing something that you love to do, no matter how discouraging, how hard, and time-consuming, we sometimes forget. There's a storyteller in all of us, especially when you hear the words, "What happened?" and you have to piece together word after word. So while you continue your creative work and display it to the world, don't let the noises stop you from remembering that still voice that wanted to tell a story. Thank you for listening, ladies and lords, and welcome travelers. My name is Miriam Yvette. Lots of shenanigans occurred in the past few days in both the art and writing community, and I basically wanted to write a little allegory because I'm noticing that a lot of authors and reviewers, there's just a lot of what I would say a lot of pulling from the drama that kind of went on, and just to give you guys some context, expectations when it comes to reviews, people's perspective of star ratings, or the type of star ratings that they should give or get, and all that jazz. And honestly, for me, I can never speak for anyone except for myself, but I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to storytelling. Take me somewhere, and if I feel like I'm there and I'm not questioning things, I will most likely just enjoy it. And I don't get ticked off by typos. I don't get ticked off by other stuff, just because I'm here for the story. I'm not here to be your grammar checker, Granted, I know that sometimes you can, see a typo or a grammar punctuation problem, and that will kind of throw you off. Of course, that shouldn't be happening. But if you read my books, it probably happens to you a lot. And before we continue, I'd like to give a special shout out to Bakakop, Timothy, Faust, and H. Thank you guys. On the positive note, I think what I really like, we're allowing ourselves to be vulnerable about our own opinion about the subject of leaving reviews and all that jazz. And there's a culture in itself when it comes to reviews, and I think there has been a lot of indie authors who just kind of really get really upset if you give them a 1 or 2 stars, and man, that stuff will blow up on social media. I've seen it many times, and I think that's just kind of something that is a result of the indie community existing. No one should be going after reviewers, of course, and I think because indie authors are independently published, the ego can probably get hurt. We end up doing something we don't want to do. Sorry if I keep laughing. I'm low on sleep right now. But I've had an author. I'm not gonna say names. I'm not gonna mention which book. Please don't try finding it. But I had I'm being petty right now. I'm gonna be petty. But there was this review I got, and they were like, "Oh crap! If I say it, you guys are gonna know." Basically, they were giving me tips, and I was like, you could have DM'd me this. What? This has nothing to do with my story. Just tell me what is it that bothered you. It was just so like off. But I mean, that happens. And I've had the opposite. I've had like, oh God, there's this awesome author who he reviewed my book and he DM'd me, and I kid you not, guys, he sent me a list of all the typos I had, word after word. This guy ate up my story. Like, it's like he wrote it himself, and he was like, here, you dropped this, like you forgot to do this. And he was the most sweetest guy in the world. That's someone that you really want when you're just starting. Not the one I'm trying not to mention. I think that's why these kind of things blow up, because I know it hasn't been that long with the whole indie publishing, and I know that I was gonna say old timers, but really the veterans, the ones who were first publishing when it became available. I know they have a thicker skin than someone who's just starting, but I also think that the culture of indie publishing, we forget that we have to remain professional. And at the same time, we have to be authentic. And I try to balance both. Like, I try to be myself. Seriously, whenever I post a video, I always show it to my husband, and I'm like, hey, is this okay? Like, he knows me more. Like there's this song. I gotta find it for you guys. 1 second. Okay. So I'm not monetized, so I really don't care if I hope I don't get in trouble. I'll probably get copyright claimed. But you know me, I'm going to introduce music to this. So there's this part in the song by, and I'm probably going to kill his name. So the singer is Gnarls Barkley, and there's a song called Who Cares? It's one of my favorite jams. And in one of the lyrics, he says,
you see, everybody is somebody, but nobody wants to be themselves. And if I ever wanted to understand me, I have to talk to someone else, 'cause every little bit helps.
So I think there has to be a balance between who we are as an author, but also showing our readers our authentic self. And I try to do my best when I write my newsletter. I try to give a little piece of me. I try to remain private on social media. I try not to post a lot of selfies. I try to just depend on memes, because that's much easier. And I am a millennial, so I just eat up memes like they're cereal. So I think that's important. And I think sometimes because we try to balance that, we end up making more mistakes, or if we just kind of go based off our emotion. But we have to be careful when it comes to doing that on the internet. We have to take a breather and just be careful. But at the same time, everyone wants to write a story, and we all want everybody to like our books. But of course, that's not the reality. But I think at the same time, we can be respectful and have fun. Tell your story, guys. Until then, safe travels.